Hello and welcome back. So railway in a bit of a mess at the moment, so part way through the week I happen to find myself with a morning off, and I've completed this. So if you remember last week I had that rail out there, and if you look at the insert picture you can see how I trimmed the rail. I showed a few examples last week. So that's gone in reasonably successfully. Let's just move that Duchess and those coaches away for a moment. Let's give that a little bit of power. Just pop that back out there, and we'll come back to that later. We'll come back to that blue box later as well. But this morning I'll have time off. I'm just tripping over the cables here. So let's pop that down there. You can see the mess of cables on the floor. I'm standing or tripping, tying up around my feet. So that's the new rail that's gone in there. Works nice and smoothly, and I thought I'd better get around to wiring these up, because these have been in for ages, these electronic uncoupling rails. So I've had mixed success with the uncoupling ramps and the other side of the railway, and getting the couplings, especially with the plastic couplings. Haven't had a great deal of success with those. Metal ones, pretty good. So maybe we'll have a look at that a bit later on. But I'm quite pleased with that. That's all the way in, all the way down, nice and smooth. And I have come to quite enjoy having that tunnel there. I think it looks quite good. So to power, or not to power, but to operate these, I've decided to put in these little push button switches. So I've got one of those in operation for the turntable. Let's just come down here. So I've pre-drilled the holes so in here, and I've also sorted out the ISO. There's an extra switch I think gone in here. Yeah, two switches, sorry, I've put two switches in here which control some isolating functions. So it's possible to isolate a train in this section. I've just replaced the rail in and hold it between the two yellow dots. Where's the other yellow dot there? We can see it under the bridge there. And then we have actually that's a third point. So there are 3 points I can isolate it, and that one there, so I can hold a train in that section. But more importantly, then I can hold a train, I can stack a train in here as well, so it's independent, and then another one can be driven away, or locomotive can be taken away, and so on. So there's a little bit of flexibility I've put into there. So that's gone on the wiring in there. I don't know what we can see if we come underneath. I mean, have a quick glance at how the wiring is beginning to look. So there is some degree of order to it, but it sort of all works. So let's have a look on the other side. So that's the other uncoupling rail there. So I'm pre-wired. I've got the wires dropped to the board before, but never got them hooked up. And also for the mail operating equipment there, I had this the Hornby switch in there, and what I find is the wires keep coming off there. So I'm just in the process of putting in one of those push buttons for there as well. So you can see the wiring gone in behind there with the switches. So what we'll do is we'll just have a quick look at this blue box, and I'll get on with that. And maybe later in the week we'll catch up with this, and we'll get this on the bench and we'll have a good look over it. So this was bought for me very kindly by my wife for my birthday. It did come from Dave Angel's stall when we were down in the British Motor Museum. I think that was June now. It's quite some time ago, and this was given to me for my birthday. So in theory it runs, but from looking at it, it needs a little bit of attention. I think traction tyres have probably seen better days, so we'll get that apart. We'll have a look over it. We'll see how it runs before we do anything to it. So I was quite pleased with that for a birthday present. I think we're going to enjoy running that, but we'll see how that goes. So I'll leave you with a bit of footage that I shot handheld the other day. Once I'd got this track down, and I was enjoying myself, sort of storming around the railway with the Duchess we've just seen there. So we'll jump back to this in a little while. just have a look at this Hornby book of trains. We're not going to go right through it. We just want to have a quick glance at this wonderful cutaway of this diesel electric locomotive that Hornby Dublo introduced into the range. And they announced it in 1958. I'm not sure whether it came available in the shops in 58 or whether it came in 59. But it's quite a splendid looking thing. So I think that this was possibly the first diesel locomotive in their range. Let's just flip through a couple of these pages. I think there's another image of it in here. I think more diesels did follow. There we go. So this 59 book of trains does indicate that there's a 2-rail model there, so it's a different catalogue number. Sorry, not R, it's a 2230 for the 2-rail and 3230 there for the 3-rail model. So yeah, the first of a number of them that they released, I think. Must have been quite exciting times as diesel locomotives made their way in. So let's just grab this and have a swift look over it. So it's got a plastic body shell, and I think there are a couple of diesels with metal body shells. The Kobo for one of them. I'm not quite sure which year the Kobo came along now either. So let's have a look round there. Got lots of interesting detail on the front there, trying to hold it in a position where we can keep focus. Definitely got the metal couplings on this one. And it's got that lovely ladder just pinned on the side there. That's great. Handrails just pegged in so that we expect to see ties on the inside of the bodywork. We've got the great big securing screw in the top of the bonnet there, all nicely painted up in grey. Great big huge vent there. Let's turn it around. See if we can have a look down that side of the model. This model's definitely been handled a bit. I think it's had a bit of a life. It's not too badly sort of abused. I think there's no rust on the handrails. And got those lovely cab windows there, lovely detail on the back. So a glance down the underside. Now I think the traction tyres may be incorrect. So I think this one seems to be sort of like quite bunched up, and this one's very very wide. They stand very proud of the surface of the wheel. So I think we'll get some more suitable traction tyres on here. These need a little bit of a clean, but I think there's quite a nice sprung effect in those plungers. So I think if we just take a screwdriver to it, and we'll whip off the top nice and carefully, and see if we can do this on the camera. So there we go. It's a great big screw, isn't it? There we go. I think we've got that. Let's see if we can pull that out. That's going to elude me. I think I'm going to have to tip that over to get that to come away. There we go. So the screws come away. Nice great big thing. Quite short. When the head's that long on it, you expect to see it. So sorry, when the head's that big, you expect to see much longer threaded section, but it's actually quite short. So let's pop that down, and we'll pop that down. So I don't want to drop things. Let's have a look over this body shell to start with. So there we can see those ties on the inside. So it's a fairly clean and tidy on the interior. See this metal hook at the back there just protrudes straight through, comes through the plastic work there. And what have we got written on the sides there? So we have, sorry, I'll get that to focus. We got Hornby Dublo there. And then we've got, what's that, type 30? Or is that type L30? Having trouble focusing down there. Let's see if we can get that to camera so you can see that. So that's a type L30, we'll say. And then down the bottom here we have we're losing focus again. Let's see if we can grab this. So encourage it to come back here. I think it definitely wants to go for the catalogue. There we go. Are we going to get this back? There we have it. So we've got Meccano Limited there along that bottom edge. Let's see if we can hold that still enough to see. And then what have we got down here? We've got Made in England just running along there. So I think if we put this body shell down carefully, it is very very light. So it'd have been a tremendous weight, this model, if this was a metal item as well. We'll put that securing screw there, and then let's pick up this tremendous looking chassis. So it's a lovely metal plate running across the top. It's sort of folded. great large securing screws for each of the bogies there. And just look at that motor. It's quite a lovely thing, isn't it? Those brushes look almost brand new, don't they? Very, very shiny. So have a look in there. Let's go glance down the other side there. There we go. And that's a very fine wiring that they decided to use there. If I push that plunger there, you can see the top edge of the plunger coming up just there. And there we go there. So I think the side frames on these bogies are separately fitted items. Have a look down here. You can see when we get focus there, we've got the screw holding them on at each corner. So 2 screws holding each one of those side frames on. The same on the motor end there as well. So I think if we just hold that up, that way up, we'll get a little bit of power on it, shall we? Let's see what we've got. There we go, we've grabbed focus again, so we'll put one clip on there, and then let's just see if we've got any collection from the wheels. Yeah, so we've got a little bit, so I think a bit of a clean is going to be the thing now. It doesn't look like there's much oil or grease on those worms. I think it's all running a little bit on the dry side. So I think I'll set up the camera in a different position. We'll get that on the rolling road as well, and we'll just give it a little bit of a clean up. So I've just changed the traction tyres on now. I've left the side frames off. We'll have a glance at those in a moment. And I've given it a light clean and oiled the usual places. So we'll just give that a little power, and we'll have a glance at the meter. So it seems to be running relatively smoothly. So we'll wind that up a little bit more. So you can see there I'm on the clipper. So I think we'll get a bit more considered running from the Morley once we get it on the railway. So we'll give that the full strength. So we'll just wind that down to a bit more of a sedate level, perhaps. Let's try that in the opposite direction. So we'll turn that to off. So it comes to a stop a long way before you get to the off position on the controller. So we'll begin to dial a bit of power in there. And then we'll just give that a little bit more. So it seems to pull a tiny bit more power going this direction. More ampage, sorry, going this direction than the other. So we'll give that the full strength just for a moment. And then we'll just calm that down again. So I don't think we'll be using anything like that. I think this is going to be really effortless on the railway. And that slight wobble coming from there, I think that's those traction tyres. They're never quite as smooth as you think. So we've got them on sitting nice in the grooves, but there is a slight lumpiness to them. We'll have a glance at those in a moment. There we can see the side frames there. I removed those because it's easier to do the traction tyres when you don't have that on. Oh, sorry, those on. So I'll just put the screws back in them simply so I don't lose them whilst they're out. So that'd be a sort of tragic. I imagine they'll drop on the floor. We'll never see those again. So giving that a light oil, as we said, and it's all running really quite nicely. Feels quite effortless. There's those traction tyres. They are sort of semi-transparent to begin with, sort of brown, very light brownish in tint, and they will pick up dirt and go sort of black and grey and black quite rapidly. So yeah, they've got separate side frames on that rear bogie there as well. So I think what I'll do is I'll get that all back together, and we'll get that on the railway. But I think we're sort of quite late on in the evening at the moment, on a Friday evening. I think it's probably time for me to knock this on the head. Let's pop that down there, and perhaps pick this up. We'll film this, the rest of this. We'll get the railway up and running over the weekend. Let's just sort of swing round here and have a look. So see from that earlier section of video I've left everything sort of as it was. I've got those switches, they're all back in place over there, but all the tools and everything, as I had to sort of leave everything and go and do other things. So I'll get this all sort of up and running, and we'll cut back to it later in the weekend. And I think I'll get that new diesel locomotive. We'll get that on there with those cable drums. I've just walked past them. Let's just go back there and have a look at those. So I'll get that the train running with those on. I think let's just take this off, and this just keeps the dust and the sunlight and so on. So yeah, we'll replace the Kobo, and I think it'll look rather good with those. So I got the body back on, hooked it up with the wagons, had a bit of a tidy up on the railway, which took me longer than I had thought. Thought it was a good idea to give the floor a bit of a hoover, all the good stuff. So let's just take that around. And that's going to run under the station. Just see if we can go a little bit higher up here. We're running down the far side of the railway under the other girder bridge there. It makes a lovely sound on the rails. Let's see if we can just get down a little bit lower as it comes around the curve here. I have to admit, I've just turned that up rather than turning it down. I was going to turn it down as it got closer, so I've turned that up. So that's nowhere near full strength. So this time as it comes around, I'll turn it the correct direction and turn the power down. There we go, let's turn that down. There we go, so I'm just going to bring that to a stop in the station. And now I think what we'll do, we'll just jump the other side and we'll pick it up from there. So we've got the loco running there, so we'll just see if we can catch that coming around. I'll energise the uncoupling rail as it comes through. So when the load's off the engine, obviously it sort of takes off a little bit. Let's see if we can follow that round a little. So what I need is a foot operated switch really to use those whilst we've got the camera. Obviously when you have no camera in your hands, that's a lot more fun. So let's stop that there, and then let's just see if we can back that up again. Let's get a little power. So it makes a lovely sound. I think I already said that, but it's sort of a gentle whine, but very purposeful. Let's see if we can pick those up again. So what I'll do is I'll put a little bit of footage at the end there with these uncoupling rails in action. I'll just set it up on the tripod and do a couple of variations of it. Let's see if we can get that to run backwards again and pick those up. I don't think we've got those. Let's have a look. Yes, we've got them. So, no, we haven't got them. Am I going to have to intervene by hand here? No, we've got that. There we go. So let's let that run and we'll see if we can follow that around and get a couple of interesting shots of it. So I think these sold quite well. Although from what I've read, the 2-rail version may have had trouble with the pickup. And when I was cleaning this, I was quite surprised at the wheels which didn't pick up. I thought they would have all picked up. You know, the ones that go to the 2 outside rails, but it's sort of alternate on the dummy bogie on the front of it. Let's see if we can come out in front of that. So I think we could sort of pull all sorts of stuff around with that. Let's see if we can get that going under there. And then through the station. Let's get out in front of that. And we'll get down a little lower. Behind the tunnel. I think what we'll do is we'll bring this onto the main line. We'll bring it to a stop and we'll switch some points so we can get that onto the outer rail perhaps for one final run around. There we go. So what we need to do is switch number 10, which is down here. So we need to make those straight. And we need to go for number 18 over here, which is the one underneath the elevated section there. So we need to make those straight. There we go. So let's grab the controls. We'll see if we can get that underway. That's going to run back through the station. I'm just going to let that run off behind me there and just have a look at this group of locomotives. I just parked all those up there. I thought that looked quite nice together. Sort of a nice grouping. I've got the Kobo back in the engine shed. And here it comes down the outside. Nice and smoothly. Let's see if we can follow that around again. Let's get out the front end of the station here. And there it goes. I think some lights under that elevated section are going to be quite nice. Under the spans. I'm quite pleased with that as a birthday present. I sort of knew it was coming because my wife said, "Have you got one of these?" And she saw it in the box. And well, the answer was yes, but in really terrible condition. If you look at the insert picture there on the left, the one I have is missing handrails. It's in a terrible state, and it's got some rot in the bogies, and it definitely not in running condition. It was bought a long time ago, thinking, oh, I'll get that sorted out one day, but obviously never have. So I think what we'll do, we'll bring that to a stop. I've left the controls behind me. Let's see if we can get the controls. And we'll see if we can bring that to a stop just under the bridges there, or bridge. And then we'll throw points 13. So let's see if we can see those. We'll make those curved. Let's see if we can get through there trouble-free. Okay, so we'll just we'll close those up. Let's have a look at that. And I think we'll just give that the once around there. Now I'm just going to bring the EMU down from the elevated section as well. So let's just give this one more sort of run around here. See if we can catch that coming through the curves. And that's going to disappear under the track here, behind the station. I don't think I left any hazards in the corner of the room. I did this earlier and that lamp was standing on the rails, sadly. Let's get the other side here. I think we'll just grab hold of the controls now. I think we'll bring it alongside all these other locomotives. There we go. We'll leave that there. So, I was having a look at these station buildings in the old catalogues. And it looks like those station buildings really were designed to run sort of more towards the back edge of the platform. So the canopy sort of really goes over the platform rather than over the rails as I've got it there. So I think I will design myself a canopy for the back side of those stations, just a small one to go over the doors. Let's grab the relevant controls for this. I've tangled everything up here. Let's see what we're doing. Let's get rid of that one over there. And that one there. So when I had the canopy set up here, originally I had some the track came to an end behind it and some steps, and that sort of overhung the steps, and I had the building up to the sort of almost the edge of the platform. So let's give this some power. Ideally this one will run. It's always the best laid plans, so why aren't we running? So we're on the handheld. There we go. So let's try that again. No, we're not going to run. I've got the point set. Maybe it needs a nudge. Maybe it doesn't. Yeah, it needed a nudge. Well done. So since I made the alterations to the track, this seems to have come down quite nicely off the elevated section. So just watch now, it'll jump straight off, won't it? So let's give this a go. Down nicely, so let's have a look at that there. There we go. Let's pop that down. So that sort of central on the platform. I know I've got the gap wider on these between these rails to account for my very bendy platforms. That was my thinking behind it. I've got the same gap on this side because I've got a lot of uneven platforms, and I thought just having that little bit of extra clearance would be really good. So if I employ that there, I get quite a nice gap there, and it's sort of, I think that looks pretty good. So I think originally these were designed. Let's take that one back. Here we go. So when you look in the catalogues, this is sort of right up against the sort of near back edge of the station with steps. So it's a very, very close. So if I brought that station platform any closer to the rails, that becomes really very, very close. It only barely clears the tops of those coaches. Now, this is on Series 3, so I think I'm right in saying the standard track is going to stand a little bit higher. So my rails sitting on the elevated tracks the rail heads are sitting at the same height as standard track. So the platform is effectively sitting on the deck, if we take that into account there. So, and the rails are at the same height as standard track given to the deck. I can't remember the measurement I've got on that. But that's how I had that set up. So I think what we'll do, we'll just put that back there. we'll send that back up there. I know this is just fiddling around with trains, but I want to put that back up the top. Sunlight's all over the place through the window this afternoon. Again, been a week of a lot of rain. Really quite unpleasant, but the last sort of 48 hours have shaped up quite nicely. I think we'll just switch the rails on that. Yeah, we'll switch the rails on that, and we'll take the opportunity to turn that around. So there we go. So we'll bring this into the loop. We'll stop that there, and we'll switch the points. Remember to turn the controller in the correct direction. And we'll just pop that there. There we go. So let's be ambitious now. We'll change the points. So we'll put those back to straight. And let's get that great diesel loco and those cable drum wagons on the go again. So we'll grab the controls here. So we'll give that a little power. So will that even out and run itself around? There we go, I think that's all good. And I'm going to unisolate the Princess Royal here. Now ideally we'll be able to get that up to the station as well. So there we go. I think something might have just clipped that tunnel. I might have knocked the tunnel when I've been fiddling. There we go, one above the other. Had to do it at some point. And we'll bring that into the station. There we go. Now I think if I switch the points, we'll bring the EMU down. So let's step back a bit and remember to turn this in the correct direction. I do love the sound of this EMU. I think I say that every time I run it, but it's just one of those sort of great sounds, isn't it? Definitely picking up some pace there coming down the ramp. We'll slow it down just in case we catch that canopy. We'll take that through the tunnel. And we'll just bring that to a stop in the station for a moment while I attend to the points. There we go. Let's just swing around here. So what I want to do is close that one over there that's underneath the rails. So, excuse me swinging around, I've decided to turn around and look instead of reach over my shoulder. So I want to go straight with that one. And now ideally, that EMU will run around nicely by itself. So let's see if we can get a couple of shots, perhaps with both trains on the move, have them run in opposite directions. I think we'll just finish with just a few shots of these things running. So they should just sort of pass each other there through the station. Oh, we'll just follow this one around. So definitely just playing with trains. And that EMU should be emerging out of the station. There we go. I think we'll just catch that cable drum train one last time, and I think that'll be it for today. But thanks again for watching. Goodbye now.